I don't like Irma. I dislike Irma very much.
This is the day that Florida has been anticipating. Here in South Florida, trees are down.
So my best thing, what I'm doing to get back at Irma, is making sure we are the best prepared community, and we are going to be ready for whatever Irma has to dish out before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm.
Well, it was just a year ago Hurricane Irma made itself known overnight on the First Coast. That storm less than a year after Hurricane Matthew, which also impacted the First Coast.
In big ways, very, very big ways. And two other big stories we're following today is Category 4 Hurricane Florence making its way to the Carolinas and Virginia up the East Coast. Unbelievable to think about what they're about to go through if you can just simply remember what we were doing a year ago right now. Also, it has been 17 years to the day since the deadly terrorist attacks of September 11th. We have much more throughout the morning, but right now, let us check in with storm expert meteorologist Mike Prangley, who we saw there in that open at the beginning of this show. Never seen you so serious, but for good reason. And now let's be prepared for what's happening up north.
That's right. In fact, I've been checking on my friends this morning in the Carolinas, telling them to get out of there. You want to heed all evacuation warnings. Remember what we learned during Irma, how helpless we felt when that water came up and had nowhere to go. We're not going to let that happen to our friends up in the Carolinas. In fact, I've got some friends coming right down into Jacksonville, so we'll take good care of them, check on our friends, because this is heading right up toward the North-South Carolina coastline. Specifically, it looks like right around Cape Fear is a major hurricane late Thursday. Looks like high pressure steering this away from Jacksonville. As we take a look at the big picture, this thing is just a ball of fury, about 500 by 500 miles wide. And you can see this thing, if anything, is actually expanding in size. So a big concern, unfortunately, a life-threatening storm. As we take a look here at home, yes, counting our blessings, we're feeling the effects of Florence in the form of dangerous rip currents. They will peak out Wednesday and Thursday. We've got that building surf of 2 to 4 feet. Today's high of 88. With just an isolated early afternoon storm. Now let's get to Katie Jeffries in the ViStar Credit Union Traffic Center.
Thank you so much, Mike. All right, let's get you guys out the door this morning. Taking a live look here towards the Buckman Bridge. Got a beautiful sunrise out there over the Buckman Bridge, and traffic is picking up. Whether you're traveling towards Mandarin or traveling towards Orange Park, both are starting to build. It's just that time in the morning where everybody starts to leave their house. We did get a report of a crash along Beach Boulevard right here at 295, but no reports of any lanes blocked with this, and I'm not seeing any slowdowns forming. So it looks like it's off to the side. Just be careful of those drivers when you pass by. Also over here towards I-10 eastbound to 295, report of a crash there on that ramp from I-10 eastbound to 295 southbound, but use caution. That one is off to the side there as well. I-10 though, definitely starting to build. You see that bottleneck starting to form about 6 minutes from 295 to downtown, and that will only grow as we head into the morning.
As we watch Florence and are reminded of Hurricane Irma last year, let's put the numbers into perspective for you. The damage from that storm to remind us all why it's so important to prepare for these situations. Hurricane Irma led to more than 100 deaths, 47 direct deaths, 82 indirect. Now, direct deaths come from things like flooding, while indirect deaths stem from other complications like power outages. We know that Irma was the most powerful Atlantic hurricane in recorded history, causing more than $50 billion in damage in the U.S. It was also the costliest storm in the history of Florida, and many are turning their focus to the next storm. Some, though, are still just fighting to recover. Coming up in your Power Block of Nonstop News, we'll share how one local business is still trying to rebuild.
Her birthday is rough because it's her birthday. We should be celebrating another year of life, and of course we're not. We are, remembering and honoring her.
Aaliyah Mitchell would be 14 years old today if childhood cancer had not claimed her life on January 28th of 2015. Every day, there are 43 families in the United States that will hear the words, "Your child has cancer." And as we bring awareness to childhood cancer during this month of September, we remember little Aaliyah. Through giving back to others, her mother continues to honor her memory.
When Aaliyah was sick, one of the things that helped her throughout her battle was the Child Life program, and the fact that when she was there for her hospital stay, she was able to have different toys and different video games or games to kind of play with and distract her throughout her treatment.
Heather Williams vividly recalls Aaliyah's 2-year battle with Ewing sarcoma.
I love you more.
Nope. Every precious moment.
You would never love me more than I will love you. No, I already do love you more than you love me.
Every year for Aaliyah's anniversary or for her birthday, we do a toy drive for Wilson Children's Hospital. This is to help all of the children that are currently battling cancer.
More than 15,000 kids and young adults are diagnosed with cancer every year.
The reason that we do what we do for Aaliyah's memory is to help those families that are going through it. I remember Aaliyah being diagnosed, and I remember feeling so lost. I remember being so overwhelmed. I just want parents to be aware, and I don't want to scare them. I just want them to be aware that childhood cancer does happen, and I want them to be aware of the symptoms and the signs,
including unusual swelling, unexplained paleness and weight loss, loss of energy, and sudden eye or vision changes.
I just kind of overlooked it because you just assume that that's not your child.
It was her child, who she loved, held until she drew her last breath, and enjoyed from day 1 to year 10.
No, I already do love you more than you love me. I gave birth to you, remember?
Yeah, but it's still not true.
We have a complete list of the signs and symptoms of childhood cancer on our website, and if you would like to donate toys to Wilson Children's Hospital in Aaliyah's name, we have a helpful link for you also in the story at firstcoastnews.com.
And when it comes to funding childhood cancer and the research associated with it, the money is desperately needed. Most federal research dollars go to study cancer in adults, and current treatments are so toxic and they can affect a child's development. Specialized treatment just for kids is needed at this point, and it's unavailable. Many survivors suffer from long-term damage, of course, to their internal organs, but also their mental health. The exact cause of childhood cancer is still unknown.
6:37 is your time. Hurricane Florence headed toward the Carolinas. Coming up, we're going inside the eye of the storm. Plus, more problems for Eureka Garden residents. Their latest troubles ahead on GMJ. And here's a look at what's coming up tonight on ABC 25, rather. It's the season finale of Bachelor in Paradise at 8 o'clock. Who's going to get engaged? Then Castaways is new at 10 o'clock. Be sure to stay up for your late local headlines on First Coast News at 11. Hard to believe Hurricane Irma was a year ago. We'll have more on that coming up in Power Block of News. Well, the First Coast saw some rain last night. Our viewer Tom Burrow captured these beautiful pictures. Look at this lightning. This is over the ocean out at Jacksonville Beach. Remember to share your photos. Just use the hashtag GMJ.
And you were saying this is 500 miles
500
across?
miles across.
Wow.
So, yeah, got the rosary out, that's for sure. And we take a look. We are talking about a life-threatening storm as it moves off to the west-northwest at 13 miles per hour. And as we look at the wind field, we're talking about life-threatening wind. Okay, so you see this big ball of wind coming in, and it looks like for much of South and North Carolina, we could have some damaging winds. So you couple that with the damaging and life-threatening storm surge. All right, and then life-threatening flooding. So we've been talking about this morning. There's going to be a huge area of 20-inch plus rainfall for hundreds of miles. So, boy, it's just the destruction of Hugo, like they saw in 1989, with the flooding of Harvey is what we've been comparing this to. Right now, it looks like the landfall, the highest risk is right up near Wilmington and Cape Fear.
Oh, it's just awful. It's like just waiting for this monster, you know? This is a look over here towards I-10, and it's near where it meets US 17. So that is the eastbound side that is traveling kind of away from the camera. At least we have a beautiful sunrise this morning to start your morning with, but you can see that congestion on I-10, that bottleneck starting to build. Clay County, Blanding and US 17 there look just fine, no problems. I-95 from 295 to downtown, no problems there. So far, it's actually been a good morning with no crashes causing any issues, but if that changes, we'll let you know.
All right, guys, thanks so much. And speaking of Florence, going towards the coast of the Carolinas, the Category 4 storm expected to make landfall by the end of the week. We're going to go to Wrightsville Beach for a report just ahead in your Power Block of Nonstop News.
It's been a year since Hurricane Irma devastated parts of our community. Some businesses here in San Marcos still boarded up and empty. We're reflecting with business owners and talking about what they do differently. Coming up in your Power Block of Nonstop News.
It's time now for your Power Block of Nonstop News.
Yeah, good Tuesday morning at 6:45. Right now, Hurricane Florence making its way toward the Carolinas. You've got hurricane hunters flying inside this Category 4 storm. That's what we're looking at here in this video. It's also how we've got the forecast track so much more narrow and so much more focused if you were to look at the spaghetti models. But there's the moment they've come out of the eye wall and into the center of the storm. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
All right, mandatory evacuations are in place. Airlines warning people to check their travel plans. Staying off of I-95 is a good idea as well if you're trying to drive up towards South Carolina or even up towards Savannah. It's going to be a slow go. All right, today also, as we think about everything that's going on, it's the 17th anniversary of the September 11th attacks in New York City, Pennsylvania, and on the Pentagon in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, so often we focus on the victims who lost their lives that day, but so many first responders are still suffering life-threatening illnesses. Camera Leppinger will have more on that coming up ahead. And a year has passed since Hurricane Irma hit the First Coast. Many families and businesses are still recovering. We caught up with one San Marco business owner to see how the last year has gone. On Your Side's Lana Harris is live with that story. And Lana, they're still trying to rebuild even a year later.
Good morning. You know, San Marco in general really just has not looked the same since Hurricane Irma. Look, this has still got businesses boarded up. In this business, you can't even go inside. There's some danger tape on the door. One business we know that you were talking about got hit really hard was the Rusted Vintage Market. It's right down this block down here. We have been following the owners of the market since days after Hurricane Irma happened. They say that they piled up sandbags 30 inches high around their shop. They stacked their items up off the floor, but it was still no match for Hurricane Irma. Now, luckily, they were able to come out on the other end, but they say they'll never forget the moment they realized just how bad the storm was.
The day of the storm, Jean sent Patty and I a text.
That my son's
And there was a picture there where
Yeah.
her boys were outside in a kayak.
And then he took a picture inside.
And the water, you know, is 3.5, 4 feet deep. And it was like, oh my gosh.
Now, knowing what they know now, they say that if we got hit by another bad storm like that, they'd likely just move everything out of their store, especially because this area is prone to that flooding. So it's something to think about as hurricane time continues. Here in San Marco, I'm Lana Harris, First Coast News, On Your Side.
Let's take a moment to just stop for a second. Talking hurricanes, talking storms, and go in this direction for a minute. This is a live look now. This is at the Pentagon. Of course, 17 years since the attacks. It's September 11th. Of course, the World Trade Center, the field in Pennsylvania, Shanksville, and then here at the Pentagon as well. They just unfurled that flag there to mark the beginning of the day. Amazing to look at there and how far the Pentagon has come as well. So many lost their lives there. Flags are going to fly at half-staff to remember the victims. And now first responders still to this day dealing with life-threatening illnesses. Internally, Camera Leppinger is in studio now with so much more on that. Camera?
Lewis, good morning. It was the worst terror attack in U.S. history. FBI agents, police, and firefighters all part of the response, and now many are still paying the price. The issue? Toxic dust that you can see from those images of 9/11. They were present at the World Trade Center and at the Pentagon attack. The result? Many of those first responders started seeing signs of illnesses. In all, over 7,500 9/11 responders have developed some form of cancer. More than 300 New York police officers and firefighters have died. Scott McDonough was in an FBI helicopter that hovered over Ground Zero for weeks.
Fly through the dust clouds, which I've now learned to be dust clouds, but at the time we thought it was just smoke.
Now, after surgery and chemotherapy, he believes his cancer is gone. Now, the FBI urges all 9/11 responders to get checked. Reporting live from the newsroom, Camera Leppinger, First Coast News, On Your Side.
And the 9/11 tributes continue. There's one scheduled at Mayport today as sailors aboard the USS New York will pay their respects to those killed on the September 11th attacks. Now, this ship, of course, the name after New York City, but it's so much more than that, as this was actually built with steel salvaged from the wreckage from the World Trade Center. Today's ceremony, part of an annual tradition here on the First Coast. Again, that's at Mayport.
All eyes are on Hurricane Florence as the storm continues to strengthen. It is becoming more and more likely that this storm will make landfall as a major hurricane. Coastal Carolina preparing for the worst as Florence, packing winds of up to 140 miles per hour, prepares to make landfall within the next 2 to 3 days. Hurricane Florence already making an impact with rip current rescues all along the coast Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. More than a dozen people pulled from the water on Monday alone.
Category 4s are totally unacceptable.
The storm growing in size and strength from a Category 2 to a Category 4 in just hours, forcing UNC Wilmington to issue a mandatory evacuation of its campus. More than 1 million people now facing mandatory evacuation orders in coastal areas of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Reports of Home Depots and hardware stores all across the Wilmington area running out of water, plywood, generators, flashlights, and batteries by Monday afternoon. And it's not just the gas pump that's seeing long lines. At boat ramps all across the Wilmington area, boaters making a dash to get their boats to safety.
Oh no, it's very serious, very serious.
This storm should be taken very, very seriously, especially if you live along the coast. Reporting in Wrightsville Beach, I'm Aisha Scott. Back to you.
Good morning. Yes, all eyes on Florence, that's for sure, making a beeline toward the North Carolina, South Carolina coastline as a major hurricane, making landfall, direct landfall likely late Thursday. For us, we're watching the ocean, the dangerous rip currents that are starting up today, and they peak tomorrow and Thursday. And you can see what's steering Florence. It's actually splitting two high pressures. So high pressure bringing us a sunny day today with only a lone thunderstorm and another high pressure to its northeast. So see how it's going right through the middle there and that weakness in the atmosphere taking it, unfortunately, to the Carolina coastline. So we're talking about catastrophic flooding, surge, and wind. All right, so we take a look at Salt Life today, and we're talking about those dangerous rip currents peaking out, and especially as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, sunrise 7:07. Yes, we're the lucky ones. We'll enjoy that sunrise and a high temperature of 88. If we do get a lone storm popping, it'll probably be around 1 to 2 o'clock, and that's going to be mainly to the west of Interstate 95. Surf building to 2 to 4 feet. We take a look at the rest of the tropics. We do have Isaac, but expected to stay south of us. Helene recurve out to sea, and Joyce heading to the Gulf of Mexico and away from Jacksonville. 7-day forecast does include a lot of sunshine. We're going to heat up to the low to mid 90s, looking dry for the Jags and Patriots on Sunday. Katie?
Thank you, Mike. All right, let's talk about your power block of traffic to get you guys out the door. Quick look here towards the Buckman Bridge. It looks good, but it is starting to build, especially on this side that takes you towards the Mandarin area. So it is definitely starting to pick up out there. We have some accidents to talk about. First one over here along Beach Boulevard. Looks like it's kind of underneath that 295 overpass. Use caution, but no lanes there are blocked. Over here along I-10 eastbound on the ramp to 295 southbound. Crash there as well. Just use caution, but that one is also off to the side. Now this one just came in. It looks like it's leaving the Fleming Island area, US 17 near Cretan Road, right before that bridge along US 17. Crash there, but no lanes there blocked. That one's off to the side of the roadway as well. No reports of any injuries. I-10 really starting to get heavy. That bottleneck picking up from 295 to downtown. You're looking at about 11 minutes, and that is building. All of your bridges through downtown, though, they look just fine. I'm not seeing any problems there. I-95 from St. Johns County towards Jacksonville. Pretty smooth drive at this point, but I expect to see some slowdown starting to build in there from congestion here shortly.
All right, 6:53 now. People living at Eureka Gardens say they're living inside a death trap and no one is willing to help them. Residents say they've had no running water or working gas for the last week. Property management says the apartment still has the original gas and water lines that are nearly 50 years old and they have to be shut off completely for repairs. One resident said she's done.
Won't nobody help me. I've been talking about the bullets. I feel threatened for my life. I'm disabled under the Florida statute of law. I emailed the governor last week and been calling all the people that got paper trails everywhere, and ain't nobody come to my aid.
So last year, HUD Secretary Ben Carson toured Eureka Gardens along with numerous politicians. Reached out to HUD and Governor Scott's office after hours Monday. We're hoping to hear back from them today. We did speak to the new property management firm who says it will be fixed once they take full ownership from the previous owners.
All right, guys, it is time for the buzz. Lunch breaks turning into desk breaks. According to a new study, people aren't taking breaks anymore. Instead, they're scarfing down their food while they work. And you know why? Here's the buzz. More than half of workers feel guilty about stepping out to eat for 30 minutes. Check this out. The survey of 2,000 workers from England's Best found that intense workloads or the pressure to finish a project is keeping more employees at their desk during a typical workday. Now, some admit it's rare for them to take a full lunch break, and then you have 3 in 10 people that wind up eating at their desk anyway. This has a lot of people talking online. When you get to a couple of those comments, you have Jeanette that says, mostly at my desk. Some days there's back-to-back meetings and no break. Then once in a while, a team lunch is scheduled and we all leave for an hour. It just depends. Then you have Kathleen that says, I was a nurse for 31 years. Lunch or even breaks were rare. And if you got to eat at all, it was while keeping an eye or ear out. Yeah, that sounds about right. So we want to know, do you skip your lunch breaks? Do you take them, or do you feel guilty about it when you take them? Remember, the conversation always continues online. Use that hashtag GMJ.
Coming up later today, Jacksonville's own Seth Owen shares his remarkable story with talk show host Ellen DeGeneres. You may remember he's the gay teenager who left home after clashing with his conservative parents. When we first introduced you to him in July, he was homeless and unsure if he'd even be able to attend college. Well, now after his story gained national attention, things have changed dramatically. He's attending Georgetown University, where he pays zero tuition, and he plans to use the money he raised through his GoFundMe page to help other LGBTQ scholars facing trouble like his own. He sent us a statement that says, "Thank you to all of my supporters in Jacksonville and across the globe who have given their time, talents, and financial support to help me make my dream a reality." Again, you can watch that today on The Ellen Show on NBC 12 at 4 p.m.
Don't forget, there is a new third hour of Good Morning America during the week. GMA Day is hosted by Michael Strahan and Sarah Hines. You can watch it here on ABC 25. That is at 1 p.m. Mike Prangley. All right, busy man, I know that. Let's get the last check of our forecast.
All right, yes, we're watching, of course, Hurricane Florence making a move to the Carolinas. Check on your Carolina friends. Make sure they have a safe place to come and stay. And yeah, having a couple come stay with us. As we take a look at the big picture, sunny day today, just an isolated early afternoon storm.
I-10 eastbound, pretty heavy out there. Look at that, slow, slow, slow. So just plan ahead.
All right, so much coverage continuing here on today's show on Good Morning America. We're back in a half hour.